why are you doing a second series? The first one was perfect. And it's a compliment, but you go, come on, let me do two. I only do two in a special. Let me do two.
Well, hello and welcome to radiotimes.com in conversation with Ricky Gervais. Ricky, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And we're catching up, of course, on launch day for Afterlife Season 2, streaming now on Netflix. How does it feel to finally have it out there?
Oh, it feels great. It takes such a long time. You know, you write it for 6 to 8 months. Then you know, pre-production is like 8 weeks. Then you film it like for 7 weeks. Then you edit it for 14 weeks. Then you finish it. Then Netflix takes it, and they take 2 months to translate it into 160 languages. So of course I'm going, come on, I've finished it. Let's get it out there. Yeah, it's lovely for it to be out there, and it's trending on Twitter. Some people have already watched it. Some people have already watched all 6, and it's wow. You know, within 2 hours of it being out, 3 hours of it being out. Yeah, it feels great, and it's lovely these days to be able to hear from the fans because of social media. And you know, the first season, I'd never had a reaction like it, and it wasn't just the size of the reaction, which is obviously bigger than anything I've ever done because Netflix have got 170 million subscribers now, and you've got social media. But it was the emotional response. You know, my agent got 300 letters in the first week. Now, that never happens. No one writes letters anymore. But they were telling their personal story. And people coming up to me on the street, it would always be stuff like, usually it was, loved you at the Golden Globes, or saw you on telly last night. And this, they'd sidle up and go, I just want to say, I lost my brother 3 weeks before I watched it, or I lost my mother. And what I realised was that everyone's grieving. Everyone's grieving about something all the time, and I took that, and I thought I felt like I had a responsibility to treat that sensitively and realistically. So that's why he doesn't just snap out of it. He doesn't just get better when someone's nice to him. He doesn't go, oh, you know, I've heard people say about depression, oh, just be happy. And I go, oh, okay, yeah, I just don't have cancer. It was important. It was a very important part of it, the grief, and people identified with it and loved that they were seeing something. You know, they're going, oh, "That's me. I was like that. I was like that." And I think that's what happens with taboo subjects. People, you know, creators and studios and broadcast, they go, "Oh, can the public take this? It's a delicate subject." Well, of course they can. It's fiction. It's still better than real life. Of course they can take it. And if you do it well, they'll love it because they want to see a piece of themselves on the telly or something they didn't know about. So I don't think any harm can come from discussing taboo subjects, even in a comedic way. And I mean, it started off as a jump-off point, you know. That's why he was acting like that. But then it became more of a study in it. And he's going through the 7 stages of grief. We hit the ground running with season 1, where he was going through shock, anger, denial, and now he's going through negotiating. Now he's going, okay, if I'm going to stick around, why? What's in it for me? What can you give me? Because the big question it asks through both series is, if you lose everything, is life still worth living? That's the big question it asks, and you know, you try and answer it with in fiction.
Well, radiotimes.com has asked fans of the show to submit questions for this chat, and we're going to run through some of those now. And as you said, many of the fans have been personally affected by the show. So one fan wanted to know, how did you come up with the premise for Afterlife? I'm going through this now, and I could not fathom writing anything like that before it happened to me.
Right. Well, firstly, we've all been through grief. I lost both parents about 20 years ago. I lost my older brother last year. We've all been through grief, and there's a sliding scale of that. You know, some things are worse than others, and also we're inoculated to it as we go along. A child loses its goldfish, then its puppy, then a grandparent. You know, and we're used to it. And the first idea was the high concept idea for fun, really, for fun and hijinks. Imagine if you lost everything and you were going to kill yourself, but you didn't because the dog was hungry. You could do anything. Everything's a bonus. You're not scared of anything anymore because you've always got death to fall back on. It was like a superpower. And you could do and say what you wanted. So that was the high concept of it. And then I had to think, well, what's losing everything? And for me, it was your life partner, your soulmate. That was it, really. And then, you go on the adventure and you start looking into things. And what would you do? What's he looking for? But he's looking for happiness, I guess there's a line in series 1 where Penelope Wilton's character, Anne, on the bench, says about, she misses her husband, still talks to him every day. She says, I'd rather be here missing him than have him here missing me. And that's a lovely, beautiful, sort of twisted bit of altruism. Because me, I want to die first. I'm selfish. I want to die first. But that's selfish in a way. So those were the themes. Those were the sort of dilemmas. But under it all, he's trying to be happy again. He's okay. He can't have the one thing that would make him happy like that. Lisa being around. So everything is second best now, but it's still worth it. And in the first series, the tagline was "Hell is other people." Again, slightly comedic almost, but real to a misanthrope who's lost everything and is angry. And this one, it's hope is everything. And so I suppose to answer the question, that's what we do as creators or dramatists or comedians. We sort of say, imagine if. What's the worst thing that can happen? We ask those questions all the time. And then it's your spin on it. But the braver and more honest you are, the more you'll get it right, I think.
And another fan, on a related note, they wanted to know, Afterlife, it deals with a lot of complex scenarios and issues that people face when they go through not only mourning, but life. Was it tough to get the balance right between making it feel heartfelt and genuine and lighthearted and comedic?
Yes, it was the one thing that I worried about when I was writing it. I was very excited about doing something so real and raw and mixing those ups and downs with life, because it is like real life. People think it's harsh, but it's actually like real life. Everyone, every day, is having fun, then they get a bad text. For everything from mildly annoying that ruins your day to heartbreaking that ruins your year. So we go through it every single day on a sliding scale, ups and downs. Some are more up than others, some are more down than others. So we go through it. But I did wonder, in a half-hour so-called sitcom, could people go from the worst thing that could happen, this man has lost his wife to cancer, to then laughing at him insulting a little fat kid? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes, because we second guess people too much. We go, oh, can they take this as an audience? Who are we to? Of course they can. As I say, real life is worse. Even the language thing. Have you walked through past a building site to hear the language, or a school, or anywhere? So people can take it, and the more we water it down, the more anodyne it becomes. And I think people appreciate it when you don't patronise them, when you let them make their mind up whether they can take this or not. But yeah, that was the bit to get right. That was the tricky balance. But all you do is be real. Again, if you're just real, then it works. It just works.
You touched on this earlier, but a fan wanted to know that before Afterlife became such a success, did you have any idea just how many people, like myself, would claim the show helped them through their darkest hour? And how do you feel when people say that to you?
No, I didn't. At the time, as I say, I thought the grief part was a jumping off point to explain his behaviour that then would, crop up. I didn't realise it would become the main theme for some people, or the central message for some people. And I'm flattered, I'm blown away, because it's more important than saying, oh, I really laughed, or that frightened me, or, you know, or that was interesting. When someone says it touched them or it helped them, I mean, that's above and beyond the Call of Duty. That is off the scale in how good I feel. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's nothing better, because I suppose as an entertainer, you sort of feel a bit worthless sometimes and guilty. You think, well, this is mucking about. This isn't saving lives. This isn't being a doctor or a nurse. This isn't you know, freeing a oppressed nation. This isn't securing a bunker or dying a hero. This is just ugh. And when someone says, do you know what, it does help, you go, okay, maybe I'm not worthless. So it's lovely. It's the ultimate, I'd say. It's the ultimate.
Another fan, they were commenting on the fact that a lot of the actors in Afterlife you've worked with before on other projects, and they say they are brilliant. Why do you keep going back to them? I imagine because they're brilliant, but...
Yeah, it's because they're brilliant, and it's almost cheating, because you know, early days and young scriptwriters or you know, scriptwriters are starting out at any age. You imagine what would be good on the telly, and you write it, and you have an ideal person for it. It might even be pie in the sky. You might even in your head cast George Clooney and Michelle Pfeiffer, and you know, whatever you do, and then reality kicks in, and you know, if you get it made, you know, obviously we can't do that. So who's next? And then you cast, and then you find unknowns, and then if you're lucky, you find the perfect people for the job, and then you make it. But you weren't writing for those people when you wrote it. The second season of something, you are writing for the actors now, and it becomes easier. You know their physicality, you know their strengths, their weaknesses, what people like about them, their foibles, everything. So it's easier. Now, I started this like it was the second season of something, because I've been around for 20 years, so I knew exactly, as soon as I thought of someone, I go, Kerry Godliman, you know, or Tom Basden is perfect for that. So I'd cast this before I'd written it, and I got the yes from them, and then I wrote it. So it's a joy. It's a joy for me to know who I'm writing for before I've even shown Netflix the script. I know who's in it. So that's why. Yeah, you're right, because they're brilliant, but they're not just good actors. These people, they're comedians as well. A lot of them, so they have that sense about them, and that's good for making a scene real. Believe it or not, that someone can ad lib. You've got to be good at both. You get some dramatic actors who they can't be funny. They just can't be funny, and you get some comedic actors who can't cry properly, or you know, they can't be real. But all these can do everything, which it feels like cheating. When you write lines and then Penelope Wilton says them, you go, I'm going to get the credit for this. That's amazing.
And so with this second series, did you write the part of Paul for Peter Egan for that Ever Decreasing Circles?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it is an in-joke. It's one of my favourite things of all time, and their pairing is one of my favourite on-screen sort of pairings in anything. So it was a joy. It's something for the fans. Did you notice I even called them Anne and Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah. But Ever Decreasing Circles is a beautiful show, and it's got that warmth. It's really funny. I mean, it's all funny, but it's got that warmth, and that it's the way Anne looks at Martin, her husband, when he says something stupid. It's pure love, and she knows that Paul's flirting, but she never would. It's just lovely. It's just a lovely series, and of course and without that, they're amazing actors. They're just amazing, real actors from Shakespeare to a knockabout sitcom. They're great.
Well, another fan wanted to know, out of all the shows you've written, which one has been the most difficult to write?
I think it is this. I think it is this, because it can go anywhere. The situation bit of it is vast. You know, with The Office, it was a group of people in a frame, in a place. That's what happens. I'd worked in an office for 10 years. I know. And almost the funny thing about The Office was that nothing happens. So that was quite easy. And also Brent was such a strong central character that it was a man who was desperately wanting to be famous and discovered. So once you know that, it was, it's clear. Extras was hard because the ambition was bigger. But again, we're sort of, it's easy to explore the narcissism and ego of actors and actresses. We assume that. Whereas when you put in that to a psychiatrist, that's harder because it's the worst person for the job. You know what? So this is a person who should be talking about you, not themselves. So again, it's slightly more twisted and layered. Derek was again quite easy, more like The Office, really, a fake documentary about a central load of characters in one place. So I'd say this. I'd say Afterlife, and I'd say, I mean, the first season was hard because you don't know, the expectations, but it's easier because no one knows what to expect, so they're not judging you yet. And season 2 is easier because of all the setup, and it was lovely that people wanted it, but it was worrying because of how well season 1 went down. So you can't win, but it's a nice pressure. You know, some people even tweeted me, "Why are you doing a second series? The first one was perfect." And it's a compliment, but you go, "Come on, let me do 2. I only do 2 in a special. Let me do 2."
Is that the thinking then with Afterlife 2 and a special?
It's for the first time ever, I'm thinking I could do a third, because the world's so big and so endless, and there's characters in this. There's probably 8 characters that could have their own spin-off. They could be the lead. So I think, and that would only be, if I did a third series, that would only be 7.5 hours in a town. I mean, it's nothing. But it takes a lot of work, and I'd only do it if it was a demanded encore. Season 2's got to go down a storm again, and Netflix have got to call me saying you've got to do a third. I'm not going to do it just because I can, or to get paid, or because they need another, sitcom. The public have really got to want it, and they've got to be right. Because sometimes they're wrong. Sometimes they want, I want a 5th season, and they go, "Oh, it wasn't as good as the 4th and the 5th." So it's tough, because also what people don't realise is the biggest thing about a sitcom with ambition and a bit more scope than a knockabout studio sitcom is that you've got to give them the same but different. You can't change it too much. You can't take them off to Spain and they go, "Well, that's not what we tuned in for." And you can't do exactly the same, because they go, we could have watched the first one again. Yeah. So it's tricky. It's trickier than people think.
How are you when a project is done at letting go? Are you able to appreciate it, or are you a perfectionist? Do you always think, if only we'd done that, if only we'd done that?
I don't let it go. I'm still very proud of it, and I keep up to date with it, and I answer people's questions, and I talk about it, and I do change of formats. Of my day, I'd say about 80% of it is admin, not creativity. Just taking care of business, just looking after my intellectual copyrights of things. So but I don't watch it again. I don't think I've ever sat down and watched an old series. I watched it 70 times in the edit.
You're sick of it now.
But no, I'm still very proud of it, and you learn from it, and you change and you evolve. You know, it's very tempting that when you hit a winning formula to do 100 episodes, but I apart from the money and the ease of it, I think the exciting thing is starting again. That challenge again. And it is like starting again. You never know. It's not like people think that if you have a massive successful series, the second thing you do is the same. It's not. People go, it's worse. People go on then. Let's try and do it twice. Let's see if you can do it twice. I bet you can't. That's what the attitude's like.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
And just finally, Ricky, can you promise if there is an Afterlife special or a third season that nothing bad will ever happen to Tony's dog?
Do you know what? It's probably the most asked question, and it is the only spoiler I give. That dog is going to live forever.
Fantastic.
And it's her birthday today, on the day of release. She's 9. She's 9 years old.
Happy birthday to Auntie, who plays Brandy in Afterlife.
Cheers.
Well, Ricky Gervais, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation with radiotimes.com. Thank you all for your questions as well. And don't forget, Afterlife Season 2 is streaming now on Netflix. Ricky, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.